Between indie games, mobile games, fan games, and games dropped by the big name studios, and that's not even counting the regional exclusives, how many games would you say come out every year on average? Unfortunately, if you were actually expecting a real number from me, you're out of luck. But you can just assume with them constantly pumping out new games that the number is so huge, constantly growing, that even the most elite super nerds, weebs, dweebs, no lives, neats, whatever, could ever hope to really play them all in a single lifetime. As sad as that might be.
No. That's not true. That's impossible!
Search your backlog. You know it to be true.
With so many new games dropping every single year, plus the countless classic titles of years past to choose from, what real draw is there to play, well, average games? Hello everyone, I'm Spammer D, and welcome to the Reviewer's Dilemma, where we look at the gray areas of game reviewing. And today's gray area, should we even bother recommending average titles? Because, let's be realistic here, even if you're a budget player, it's easier than ever to get your hands on some AAA top tier content. Pretty much any place that sells games has shelves lined with great games for like $20 or less. And then there's Steam. Not to mention other methods.
What are you stealing, stranger?
So with that in mind, why even bother recommending average games? And let me just clarify for a second. I don't mean reviewing average games. Every game, good or bad, deserves a review. Otherwise, how are people gonna even know if it's worth their time? And other than word of mouth. But the NES era showed why that could be flawed too, so... No, what I mean is this. If I'm reviewing an average game, say like Samurai Jack on the GameCube, a pretty middle-of-the-road hack-and-slash action game, why should I tell you to play that over, say, Devil May Cry, a hack-and-slash that basically defined the genre? I mean, you only have so much free time, so why play the Sailor Moon RPG when you could be playing Final Fantasy VI, Double Dragon, or Streets of Rage 2? Get the idea? Even above-average games kind of suffer from this point too. Take The Nightmare Before Christmas, The Pumpkin King, for example. It's a great Metroidvania-style game that's definitely a hidden gem, but it's still no Symphony of the Night. And yet, despite many games not shining as the creme de la creme, the top dogs, the reigning kings, gamers still love them, and in some cases will choose them over games that, well, simply objectively speaking, are technically better. Why? Well, let's just get the obvious out of the way first, shall we? Clearly, no matter how much you love a game, eventually, if that's all you play, you're gonna burn yourself out on it. Probably. Speedrunners like throwing a wrench in that hypothesis. Freaking psychopaths. But too much of a good thing and all. Get in there! Get in there! Daddy needs you! Really though, I think there are two aspects that cause the average gamer to gravitate towards the more mediocre games. Aside from that being what we always seem to have because our grandparents like to get it for us for the holidays. Come on, it's true. So first, I think the major breadwinner here is that a lot of games fulfill a niche or a wish. I'm primarily talking about licensed games here. I think we're all plenty aware that licensed games don't exactly have the best reputation. And yet, are you able to remember a single time when they weren't constantly being pumped out? Yeah, I didn't think so. And that's because they sell, even if it is only to our grandparents. But, they're the ones with the money. And it does explain why the Wii did so well. Anyway, the fact is that licensed games, regardless of quality, let us be the characters we already love. Explore the worlds we could only previously watch or read about, and explore the story all over again, but in a whole new way. So even if the game is just average, it has something that even AAA titles can't always provide. But what about average games that are original IPs? Well, in those cases, what I'd like to believe is the real draw of these games, especially ones of the same genre, aside from franchise fatigue, are the fresh ideas. The new takes on classic formulas. Honestly, it's probably the most fascinating aspect of average games. Because let's be real here, I'd like to imagine that most game devs don't go into a game intending to make anything other than the next hot thing, to shoot for the stars. Well, I'd like to at least believe that. And I think most games do actually start out like that, with an idea, something new, something different, something they want to bring to the table. But as I'm pretty sure most of you well know, it doesn't always pan out that way. Maybe it's due to inexperience, short development times, technology, stockholders, and other reasons, or whatever. But some of those stars inevitably come crashing down. But that doesn't mean the ideas were bad, that they don't have merit. Hell, sometimes seeing the ideas in action is enough to bring people to the table, even if that's only to watch them nosedive. I have had plenty of times where I thought, oh man, what a great idea. Wow, how did they botch the execution so badly? Or when a single idea is solid, but it just can't carry a full game. It truly is the tale of me in any team game. I'm pretty heavy. But to illustrate my point, let's take a look at a great example. TMNT Mutants in Manhattan. Often panned as one of Platinum Games' worst outings, though I personally enjoyed it, it's actually just pretty average. Though in comparison to other Platinum titles, I can see why it's a bit of a letdown. And while we can argue semantics all day, and there is no accounting for taste, one genuinely great mechanic is the game's take on recovery. When a player is KO'd, they're sent back to the sewer to basically play a button mash minigame to recover. If all 4 turtles are sent back, then it's game over. But what really makes it work is that as long as the other players are still alive, then the fallen players can make their triumphant return. This really does create some harrowing moments when you're up against 2 bosses at once and the other 3 turtles are down and out. Can you hold on? Can you stay alive long enough for your team to revive and turn the tides? Honestly, it's a great mechanic that I would love to see used in more games in the future. But it's not enough alone to be like, oh man, you need to go drop $40 just to try this out. Maybe 20, but still, it's something that makes an average game more interesting. And the fact is that filling roles and or bringing new interesting gameplay twists, whether they work or not, just tends to make even the most average games, well, fun. And even if they don't bring something new to the table, scratch a specific itch, or just simply aren't the best, I think what's hands down the best reason to be able to recommend an average game, despite other far more superior games out there to choose from, is simply that they can be, well, fun, flaws and all. And really, isn't that what matters most? And in the end, as a reviewer, I can really only just tell you what I think makes a game worth your time. But ultimately, it's up to you to decide what's just average and what's truly great. Hey everyone, Spammer D here. And yeah, I know that conclusion was pretty cliche, but it's my solution to this dilemma. Tell me, what's yours? I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And if you've got any average games that you think deserve a shout out, let's hear them too. But in the meantime, be sure to like, subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.